Hey friends, welcome to Whiskey and Whit. I'm Whitney, and today's video is going to be some Christmas in July Dollar Tree DIYs. I'm so excited, so let's get started. This video is a collab with some of my favorite YouTube DIY friends. We all came together to bring you some Christmas inspiration here in July because I think we could all use a little bit of Christmas cheer. We're all brought together by Shannon over at the Daily DIYer, so huge thanks to her for including me in this collab. There will be a full playlist down below so you can check out everybody's video once you're done here. So let's get crafting.
First up are these faux wood looking vases. I did the same technique a while back on a little upcycled jar, and I wanted to do some specifically for the holidays. So I grabbed two different sizes of Dollar Tree vases, my glue gun, and I got to drawing. Literally, this is so therapeutic. It is very zen for me. I just took my glue gun, I pulled up a couple pictures of like tree barks that I wanted it to look like. I just kind of followed the picture on my phone, and really there's no right or wrong way to do this, but I wanted to make it so it looked like there were some knots and everything kind of intertwined. So I went through and did the same process on both of the vases, so then that way they looked like they were a matching set. After you go through and draw everything, you're going to want to pull off any of those little like stringy hairs that come from the hot glue because it doesn't look good when you spray paint. Then I grabbed some flat spray paint. You're going to want to make sure that it has something with a primer in it because the cheap Walmart spray paint does not work as well. And that is it. It is so simple. Draw with your glue gun, spray paint it. They could also transition really well into winter, so that is definitely a win. This next one is probably my favorite of the whole video. It is this Fresh Christmas Greens faux kind of galvanized metal bucket. Every Christmas for the past couple years, I've seen these really cute buckets, and then you click on the link and you go to buy them and they're like $1 bajillion. And so I wanted to recreate something similar. So I started with this Dollar Tree trash can. You could really use any plastic container that they have. And I use that same spray paint with primer to cover it, so I had a neutral base to work with. Then I started painting. I started with some Waverly Gray chalk paint. This is in Silver Lining. I actually took a makeup sponge from the Dollar Tree, and you can use like a cheap makeup sponge. I just had this on hand to start dabbing in a circle. You're going to want to kind of give it that like pounded metal look, and I also made sure to do that inside of the basket. Now this technique is not mine. I learned it from Yami over at the Latina Next Door. She's part of this collab, but I will also link her video for how she did Dollar Tree chargers down below. They are amazing, and I've wanted to do this for so long, so I was really excited to do it here. So once you get that gray first coat, then you're going to go a little bit darker. I used this darker gray, just acrylic paint, and I did the same process. Now you don't want to cover it. The reason that you're dabbing is because you also don't want the brush strokes on there. So as you can see, I'm going around, I'm kind of blending it in, but you don't want it to be perfect. That's what's going to give it that metal look. Then I went in and finalized it with a little bit of metallic paint just to give it a little bit of sheen. I didn't do it everywhere. I just gave a couple areas, especially where it was a little bit darker, a lighter coat. Then this is totally optional, but I took some nutmeg brown paint and put it on my finger and added it to the edges to give it kind of that rusted look. Once that was done, I created a stencil with my Cricut. You could definitely use little stencil letters that you can find at the Dollar Tree or at Home Depot, so you don't have to use it, but I will leave this file down below in case you're interested in cutting it out. The reason I cut it on cardstock is because if I put it on vinyl, it would have literally ripped off all that paint I just worked so hard to do, so I just wanted a stencil I could set on top. So this I just cut out of some cardstock that I had from Michael's. I took my red crimson paint from Waverly that I got at Walmart and just went through and dabbed it. Now with these stencils, you want to go up and down in a dabbing motion instead of pulling it because it will just go right under that stencil. I was super proud with how that turned out. I thought it definitely fit the vision that I was going for. And then to finish off the look, I added 2 jute twine handles. This is the nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I just eyeballed some lengths and tied them on there. You could also do one big piece as a bucket handle, so it's really up to you. I added some Dollar Tree little fairy lights and some winter greenery, and this thing is ready to go. It literally just makes the whole room look like Christmas with one item, which I love. Up next, we're gonna go back to the wood vibe, and this is a DIY LED candle that looks like birchwood. Birchwood has been huge for the past couple years, and so this is awesome because it can also really transition from fall through Christmas to winter. So I started with a Dollar Tree LED candle. You could also do this with a regular candle or a larger LED candle. Really, this will work with a lot of different things. So I went through with my Slice cutting pen. These are awesome. They are ceramic blades. I will link the information to get them down below. I've really loved crafting with them. Shout out to them for sending me the pen. I went through and just did a different variation of lengths, different widths. I added a couple different kind of eye looking shapes to look like the knot in the wood. And then it was time to paint. I used the same nutmeg brown that I used on the faux metal bucket, and I used a smaller paintbrush to really get it in the grooves. Once it was in the grooves, I wiped it off so that the outside pieces weren't that tan color, but it was in the grooves. You can do as many coats as you need to get it really into the crevices. And then I took some white Waverly chalk paint and some of that dark granite from the previous project, and I mixed them together so I had kind of like an off-white gray color. Now this first one was a fail. I put way too much paint on the paintbrush. So then I went back through and did more of a dry brushing technique, and that gave me the look I was looking for. Now the good news is, if for some reason you do the same thing that I did, where you can see how you can definitely see it on one side, definitely can't on the other side, you can just go back in with that brown and do the process again. It's pretty forgiving, so it's really nice to do that. But the dry brushing is the way to go. It covers up a lot of that brown coloring. It gives you that see-through brown with white look that you would get on birchwood. So then you can leave it as is if you would like, but I decided to add some Dollar Tree jute twine. I just wrapped it around a few times around the top. And then I had wreaths like this that I got on super clearance at Walmart last year after Christmas. So I just took some tin snips and chopped off a couple pieces of this greenery, and I tied it into the jute twine. Once I tied it on, it was a little too long, so I just trimmed it, and then I just added a little embellishment. These were ornaments, again, that I got on super clearance from Walmart last year, and I just added the Merry and Bright, which gives it that kind of farmhouse chalkboard look. I am all about the wood natural vibes. I think I might tone down a little bit of the red in my Christmas decor this year, so these pieces will go with it very well. Also, a quick note, the Dollar Tree lights are kind of an orangey light. I don't mind it here with the paint over the top, but just keep that in mind. If you don't want the orange light, you may want to go with a more expensive LED that you can get at Walmart. This one I'm so excited to use around Christmas because I think Finn will be the age that he can move the magnet on this countdown to Christmas sign. So the base of this is a Dollar Tree pizza pan, and I was going to start and just use it as it is, but it was a little too shiny for me. So I just took some leftover paint from that bucket, same dabbing technique, and put it on there to make it look galvanized. Then I used an ornament from the Dollar Tree plus one of these magnetic buttons to make the little countdown. And then to customize the pan, I used my Cricut to make some vinyl decals, but you could definitely use the stickers from the Dollar Tree. I just have a Cricut on hand, so I use it, but they've got a ton of options for the numbers and the letters. But if you do have a vinyl cutting machine, I will link this SVG down below, so you can cut this out if you want to recreate the same thing. Then I went and stuck it onto the pan. Now, the transfer tape was a little too sticky for that, so it peeled off some tape, so I just went through and dabbed the paint on there just to kind of cover up the areas where it had peeled off. It ended up looking just fine. For these numbers, I just used the default font on Cricut Design Space. I thought it went well with the design I created. And I placed them by hand because of the faux pas that I had with the transfer tape with the letters. It actually worked out really well. I went through and decided, okay, which are the 4 kind of quarters of the numbers? And then I really was looking to find the half point between each number. So between 25 and 19, what is the halfway point between the 19 and the 13? So you could space it out. And then I added the magnet, and that is it. So the cool thing with this is the magnet's strong enough that it's not going to fall off, but it's also easy for a kid to grab and move it around the pizza pan. You could also do this for countdowns to school. You could do this for countdowns to different holidays. You could also paint it with chalkboard paint so that where it says Christmas, it could say countdown to, and you could write it in. The possibilities are really endless. And finally is this hurricane vase painted in a mercury glass style. So the first thing I did was hook my Dollar Tree candlestick to my vase using these Gorilla hot glue sticks. They stick really well. If not, you could definitely use E6000. Then I cut out my little stencil from my Cricut. Now this I designed in Canva, and I snuck a little puppy in there for Sebastian. I will link it down below, but you can easily create these in Canva. I've got a tutorial for that down below if you don't like the scape that I created. So then I went through and stuck it on. Now with this, because it's a rounded surface, you are going to get bubbles. However, as long as the edges of your shapes are pressed down, the bubbles don't really matter. So right there, you can see above the house, as long as that's pressed down, you're good to go. Then I took it outside and grabbed some Rust-Oleum Mirror Effects spray paint and a little trigger sprayer bottle. This is about 1/3 white vinegar and 2/3 water. And you spray that on first, and then you're going to spray the Mirror Effect spray paint. And the goal here is to get that beading of the water, because then you take a paper towel, blot it down, and that's going to give you the bubbling effect that you're used to seeing in mercury glass. I did this technique on a ton of little plain votives for my wedding, and it turned out so good. And so I was shocked that I hadn't done this technique since then. So I figured, why not whip it out for Christmas? So here it is. I did this process 3 different times. You could do it as much or as little as you want to get your desired look. And then I went inside and peeled off that stencil. Now, I used permanent vinyl, so it didn't move. And I was concerned it was going to leave a residue, but because I was spraying it, it got wet. It got wet with the water. It got wet with the spray paint. It came off really easily. And here's how the cute little scene looks. Now you could make this go up as high or as low as you want on your vase. You could also do this on just a plain cylindrical vase, but I love the little farm scene, the little puppy. This looks really cute with a little votive. And I also really love at night when it's dark, the little shadows that it casts on the wall. This gives me the cozy, like curl up and watch a movie vibes, which I am so looking forward to. So there it is, 5 different Dollar Tree DIY inspiration items for your Christmas decor and hopefully beyond. I think a lot of these can work both for Christmas, then into winter. You guys know I am all about that versatility, using things for multiple seasons.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video inspired you. Speaking of inspiration, be sure to check out the playlist down below to see what everybody else came up with. I am so excited to check out their videos. Also, huge thanks to all of those lovely ladies for collaborating, and also to Shannon for coordinating this whole Christmas effort. I'm hoping to get up some fall DIYs shortly, so stick around for that. Also, be sure to hit subscribe if you're new so you don't miss those future videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!